Welcome back to another video of NFL histories. Today we are tackling one of the best tight ends of all time. Now, for those of you that didn't watch football back in the day or weren't around back in the day, there was a tight end who really made a name of himself for the Denver Broncos and later the Baltimore Ravens. And he really changed the tight end position. A lot of you out there, younger people, know him more so as his work on TV. But today we're talking about Shay himself, Shannon Sharpe, who is still seen as one of the better tight ends of all time, even one of the top 5 tight ends. And his career started off rocky. Well, started from humble beginnings. Grew up with a poor family, moved to Georgia with his brothers and his mom. His grandma helped raise him, like a lot of families in the South, I guess. And he was seen as kind of a walk-on. He was a walk-on in school. He played for Division II Savannah State in multiple sports, while his brother Sterling, of course from Green Bay Packers fame, was lighting it up at South Carolina, setting basically every record in the program, and later being drafted number 7 overall by the Green Bay Packers. Sterling Sharpe was the prototypical wide receiver at the time, and he showed it through his years in Green Bay. I did a previous video on Sterling Sharpe, and you can see that up here if you are interested in seeing that. But back to Shannon. Shannon, like I said, he was doing well at Savannah State, but again, he was nowhere near what his brother was doing at South Carolina, and of course later in the NFL. But the Broncos saw something in him. Now, it took a while for him to be drafted by the Broncos. He made it all the way to the 7th round. So a lot of you can say that he's one of the best 7th round picks of all time, and it's very obvious that he was, because he's had many accolades, and we're going to go over them right here. Now, for the first 2 years, Shannon Sharpe played in all 16 games, but in both seasons combined for a total of 11 starts, a total of 29 receptions, around or a little over 400 yards, and only 2 touchdowns. So when he started, not a lot of people saw a lot of success in him. Dan Reeves didn't really know what to do with him. Kind of played him as kind of a wide receiver. He was still listed as a tight end, but based on my research, kind of played him as kind of a wide receiver as well. Again, back in that day, the tight end position was more likened to a catching offensive lineman. The tight end was meant to stay in there and block, and also be able to catch, but mainly to block for the run, block for the pass, stand in as a blocker, and just help direct traffic. I mean, it's not like today where a lot of tight ends, yes, a lot of the best tight ends can do that secondary skill set, but more so in today's game, the tight end is seen as a big game changer. If you have a big tight end, you have a game changer on your hands that can stretch the field, is hard to tackle, and just bowls guys over. And Sterling didn't show that in his first few years, but there were signs that he could be that good. Now, back to the 92 season, this is where he started to stretch his leg. Again, playing for 16 games. Started 11 of them, 33 receptions, and a respectable 640 yards. 2 touchdowns overall, and it got him to the Pro Bowl. He led all tight ends in receptions and yards that year, which when you think about it, in 1992, that's just how it was. Like I said, not a lot of tight ends. Yes, there were big good tight ends before then, like John Mackey, of course, Kellen Winslow Jr., and others as well. But Shannon Sharpe was a new breed that could block well and also do really good catching and stretching the field. Now, back to 1993, where he upped his game even more, playing in all 16 games, starting 12 of them, 81 receptions, big jump, 995 yards, so just 5 yards short of that 1,000-yard season, and 9 touchdowns overall, Pro Bowl, and All-Pro number 1. thing to know about this season. Wait, no. Yeah, 93. 81 receptions, 994. Yeah. All pro. The thing to know about this season, 1993, he was an All-Pro along with his brother. 1993 was also the year where Sterling Sharpe had 18 touchdowns and was arguably the best wide receiver in the league at the time. Now, sadly, as you'll find out if you watch my Packer video or just are a fan of NFL history and Packer history to begin with, Sterling Sharpe's career was tragically cut short by a neck injury, and he had to retire after only 7 seasons. But I mean, look at what Sterling did, and at least now it's finally recognized that he's a Hall of Famer. But now, after the first couple years in the NFL being in his brother's shadow, he has escaped the shadow and has started to make a name for himself. Now, to 1994, 15 games started, 13 games played, 87 receptions, finally eclipsed that 1,000-yard receiving yard total, 1,010, 4 touchdowns, and a Pro Bowl. Not All-Pro 1 this year, but again, he's starting to gain more of a repertoire with John Elway at the time, becoming a real security blanket again, and showing that he had toughness because he played in a lot of games, and, his was a good player that played through injuries and really did well. On to 95. 13 games started. 13 games played, 12 games started, 63 receptions, 756 yards. So kind of a down turn at least in terms of yards and receptions, but still had 4 touchdowns, was a Pro Bowler again, and All-Pro number 2. He secured the second most TDs for a tight end that year, and the Broncos missed the playoffs. Now, 96 would be his best year yet. 15 games started, 15 games played, 80 reception, 1,062 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Pro Bowl, and All-Pro number 1. Also 5th in voting for Offensive Player of the Year. It was his best season so far. He was infamously known for a soundbite he had. It wasn't in the playoffs yet. It was right before the playoffs, playing the Patriots that won 34-8. He was seen using the red phone on the sideline, which he used to call and talk to the offensive linemen to relay plays and everything. He said, or call in the National Guard. We need send as many men as you can that we killing Patriots up in here. It's a terrible look, but I mean, he was known for his trash talk and was really good at it. Although, unfortunately for him and the Broncos themselves, they would not get the last laugh because 96 ended with a terrible loss in the first round of the playoffs. They lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, for those that don't know, this was the Jacksonville Jaguars' first time in the playoffs, and their first time in the playoffs, they beat one of the best teams in the AFC. The Broncos were seen as a legitimate contender to go to the playoffs. So, Patriots fans, you could probably thank the Jacksonville Jaguars for the reason why you were in the Super Bowl, because thinking back, Broncos probably should have been in the Super Bowl that year against the Packers and not the Patriots, because the Broncos were just one of the best offensive teams in the league, and they had a pretty good defense as well. Great running back in Terrell Davis, and they were looking great. But I guess their hubris, maybe not directly, but some way karma caught up to them, and as a result, they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first round of the playoffs, and it was kind of a humbling experience. But fortunately for them, the next year would be their best year yet, at least as a team. 15.3 yards per catch that year, along with 72 receptions, 1,107 receiving yards, his best total ever, 3 touchdowns, Pro Bowl, and an All-Pro 1 selection once again. So this is, at this point, is his third All-Pro 1 selection. And best of all, they won the Super Bowl against my fucking Packers. Won one of the most disgusting losses I've ever seen in my life, because the Broncos were getting beat badly. It was 17-7 at halftime. It looked like the Packers were going to run away with the ball, but then Terrell Davis came back, and Shannon Sharpe had some big catches along with John Elway just leading the pack, and of course the rest is history. The Broncos win their first Super Bowl, and they definitely were the better team in that game. Not much else to say. They were just the better team, and the Packers just completely shit the bed. And it's one of the Super Bowls that you have as a Packer fan that you look back on forever and just think, should have had that one. Should have had back-to-back Super Bowls. But, of course, Terrell Davis happened. Next, we have the 98 season, which was, again, another great season for him and the Broncos overall. 16 games started, 16 games played. I didn't say that in 97. 16 games started and 60 games played. 97, 98 were only two times in his career where he started all 16 games and played all 16 games. Now, looking back through his stats and his career as a whole, I'm trying not to take that as like a ding on his resume. He played through a lot of injuries. Yes, he missed or he didn't start every game, but he was still one of the best at his position. So I'm not going to say that, he only started 2 full seasons in his career, so that means he wasn't as good as he really could have been. But he still lit it up regardless. 768 yards, 64 receptions overall, 10 touchdowns. Again, only 2 times in his career where he went over 10 or double-digit touchdowns. And his last year as an All-Pro 1, and he was a Pro Bowl once again. So over a stretch of 7 years, he had 7 Pro Bowls. He had 4 All-Pro number 1 selections and an All-Pro 2 selection. Also, 1 year he was 5th in Offensive Player of the Year voting. And the Broncos just dominated the league, just absolutely dominated. How do you put a chair on top after winning your first Super Bowl in 1997? Well, you start off the season 13-0. You average 1.3 yards per game. You make it to the Super Bowl, and you absolutely dominate the Dirty Birds of the Atlanta Falcons. And yeah, it was the last great season for John Elway and Shannon Sharpe. John Elway rides off into the sunset, and Shannon Sharpe is left. John Elway's been his only quarterback the whole time he's ever played in the NFL. So now what's next? Well, unfortunately for Shannon Sharpe, 1999 was a bit of a down year. 5 games played, 5 games started, but he had multiple injuries that year. 23 receptions, 224 yards. His only year in his career where he didn't record a touchdown. Other than that, there's not much to say. Broncos missed the playoffs, and they just weren't the same. But now, it's his last year with Denver. He's on the free agency market. Who needs a big-name tight end this year to flush out your great team? Already have 2 good running backs, a really great defense. Well, you joined the Baltimore Ravens. And in the year 2000, 16 games played, 15 games started. 16 games played, 15 games started. 67 receptions overall, 810 yards, 5 touchdowns. And the Baltimore Ravens just dominated through the playoffs. They were obviously the better team the whole time through. Big thing to note in this season, championship game against the Raiders, they went 16-3. Shannon Sharpe had a 96-yard touchdown reception, which is one of the biggest for a tight end all time. I think it might even be number 1, number 2 biggest tight end touchdowns of all time. And they absolutely walloped the Giants. They crushed them. The Giants looked like they didn't belong in the field. Trent Dilfer got a Super Bowl ring, even though he didn't deserve it. And the 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense is one of the most revered defenses of all time, and it continues to live on as one of the most biggest ass-kicking fiestas you will ever see in the Super Bowl era. And next year, 2001 was still a good year. 16 games played, 15 games started, 73 receptions, 811 yards, 2 touchdowns. His last Pro Bowl selection, he had a good season, but again, no playoff success for not a lot of playoff success for the Ravens. Like I said, last Pro Bowl appearance, but never fear. His last 2 years with the Denver Broncos were still pretty good. Over 100 receptions overall. 13 games played in 2002. 15 games played in 2003. He went back to Denver. He had 11 touchdowns over those 2 years, and he ended with a great career. He would go on to retire that year. It took a while for him to get into the NFL Hall of Fame. There was the 5-year wait between after you retire and the time where you can be considered for it. So it really wasn't too long. It was his first year of eligibility, I believe, was in 2009 or 2008. So he had either 2 to 3 years wait. So it didn't really take that long. It just seemed like it took a long time because, like I said, when he was all said and done, he was fifth in the NFL history in basically every statistical tight end category. At the end of his career, he had 204 games played, 169 games started, just got over 10,000 yards, 10,060 yards, and he ended his career with 62 touchdowns. So a very good career. I mean, when you compare him now to a lot of the tight ends that are in the NFL today, Shannon Sharpe is I wouldn't say largely forgotten, but he kind of is, because you had new guys that came in. You had Antonio Gates, was one of the best of all time. You had Tony Gonzalez, one of the best of all time. You have Gronk, that will be in the Hall of Fame one day. You have George Kittle, who's probably going to be in the NFL in the Hall of Fame one day, and Travis Kelce as well. Many tight ends are going to end up passing Shannon Sharpe in a lot of statistical categories by the time their careers are done. But he was a great player, and there was the whole moment during the 2000 season where Ray Lewis was arrested and charged with the murder of two people, and we all know infamously that Ray Lewis got caught. Apparently, there's a rumor out there that the night of the murders that Ray Lewis committed, that Shannon Sharpe may have been somehow involved. I don't want to completely add flame to that fire. It's just what I've heard. Don't come at me. It's like that. That's just what I've read. That's what I've seen. So I may be wrong on that, but I mean, it's one of those things where you just have to look at like, that's dings his shine just a little bit. I mean, theoretically that would make you an accessory, but we're not going to talk about that too much. But it is something of note that I almost got through the video without mentioning, but I feel like I just had to say it because it's important to remember. But again, Shannon Sharpe, one of the best tight ends of all time, definitely deserves his recognition in the Hall of Fame, and he's now gone on to have a big career on TV. But remember this: he wasn't a TV personality first. He was a football player first, and one of the best to do it at his position ever. Also one of the best 7th-round picks of all time. Arguably the best 7th-round pick of all time. And the rest is history. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Otherwise, have a great day, and as always, God bless.